What if I told you that right now, in the quiet corners of your room, your brain might be sketching faces that don't exist? Two eyes, a mouth, maybe even an expression. But no one's actually there. And worse, this isn't random. It's an ancient reflex that you cannot switch off. By the end of this video, you'll know why your brain plays this trick, why you sometimes feel watched in the dark, and why it matters far beyond ghost stories. But once you understand, you won't be able to unsee it. Think about the last time you woke up at night. Maybe you saw a figure in the corner or a shadow stretched across the wall. For a moment, it felt real. Your pulse quickened, your breathing changed. Then the light revealed nothing. That moment wasn't imagination. It was pareidolia, your brain's relentless search for faces, and it's not harmless. Neuroscientists warn that the same process may shape beliefs, superstitions, even the stories whole cultures tell themselves, which means this isn't just about dark corners. It's about reality itself. In 2009, researchers at the University of Queensland ran a simple experiment. They flashed distorted images at volunteers, barely more than blurs and shapes. The results? Again and again, people insisted they saw eyes, mouths, full faces. Faces that weren't there. What's striking is how fast it happens. Within just fractions of a second, your brain stamps face onto randomness. You don't decide. By the time you realize it's a trick, the face is already there. You can test this right now. Look at the nearest surface with patterns. Your wall, your curtain, even the wood grain on your desk. Give it just 5 seconds. Chances are your brain will try to stitch together a pair of eyes, maybe a nose, maybe even a smile. That's pareidolia unfolding in real time. But here's the first twist. Brain scans show that when you see these false faces, your fusiform face area, the part of your brain dedicated solely to facial recognition, lights up the same way it does for real people. It doesn't label it possible face or just a pattern. It acts as though someone is there. Which raises the question, if your brain treats illusions like reality, how much of what you see each day is shaped by the same trick? In 2014, Kyoto University researchers strapped participants into fMRI machines and showed them meaningless shapes. Every time an illusory face appeared, the brain's face network activated exactly as it would for real eyes and real skin. The participants weren't imagining in the sense of daydreaming. Their brains were recording encounters. Now imagine yourself in that scanner staring at flickering noise. Suddenly, dozens of faces begin to surface, some neutral, some threatening. You know they aren't real, but your body doesn't care. Your heart races as if someone is there with you. And you start to wonder, are you trapped in a lab or in a hallucination? Evolution explains why this happens. Picture early humans sleeping in caves. A rustle in the bushes might mean the wind, or a predator's eyes. Those who assumed eyes survived more often than those who dismissed it. Over thousands of generations, our brains wired themselves for overdetection. Better to be wrong 100 times than to miss danger once. That reflex is still inside you. That's why a coat on a chair morphs into a stranger. Why headlights in fog look like eyes. Why walking down a quiet hallway at night can feel like being watched. Your brain is applying the better safe than sorry algorithm to every shadow. And while it kept our ancestors alive, it leaves you jumpy in the modern world. Here's where it gets more unnerving. Pareidolia doesn't just create blank faces. In many cases, your brain reads expressions. In 2020, University of Sydney researchers found that when people saw illusory faces, they also reported emotions, often angry or threatening ones. In other words, your mind doesn't just invent someone, it invents how they feel about you. And when that expression looks hostile, your body reacts with adrenaline, sweat, and fear, as though you were actually being glared at. If this is hardwired, it should show up everywhere. And it does. In 1976, NASA's Viking probe sent back an image of a mesa on Mars. To millions, it looked like a giant stone face. Proof of life, headlines claimed. Later, higher resolution photos revealed just rock, a trick of light and shadow. Yet even today, people still insist it's a monument. That's pareidolia's power. It sticks even when disproved. And it isn't just about rocks or clouds. Studies show that when people feel low control, like during crises, they're more likely to see patterns that aren't there. Randomness feels unbearable, so the mind creates structure. Conspiracies, omens, supernatural signs, all can be fueled by the same bias that makes you see faces in static. Now think about ghost sightings. How many start with the line, "I saw a figure at the end of the hallway," or UFO encounters, "Something was looking back at me"? Pareidolia feeds those experiences, shaping them into stories passed through generations. For some, it explains miracles. For others, monsters. But in both cases, the source is your brain's ancient reflex, not an external watcher. And yet, pareidolia isn't always accidental. Designers know how much sway it has. Car manufacturers deliberately design headlights and grills to resemble expressions, smiles, scowls, determination, because they know you'll feel something when you see them. Slot machines and gadgets often have face-like layouts for the same reason. Even a simple 2 dots in a line, a smiley, can make you trust, relax, or feel companionship. Marketers call this humanizing. Neuroscientists call it exploiting your face detection bias. Either way, it shows how easily perception can be nudged, which raises a darker question. If faces can be planted into objects, what else can be planted into your reality? So the next time you wake at 3 a.m. and freeze at a shadow, remember, your brain is doing exactly what evolution trained it to do. The face comes first, the correction comes later. The "someone's here" jolt is primal. The "oh, it's nothing" is modern. Which one do you trust more in the dark? And that leads to the deepest question. If your brain can generate watchers in shadows, generate emotions on their faces, and make your body respond as if it were all real, then how many other patterns in your daily life are inventions? Have you ever stared into the dark and sworn something was there? Share your story in the comments. I read every one. If you want more science that uncovers the hidden mechanics of fear, subscribe now, because the next video will show you how your brain can warp memories themselves. But one mystery remains unsolved. Sometimes the faces people see don't just appear, they seem to recognize the observer, and no one knows why.